What's up, and welcome to episode 54 of Brewing Through the Multiverse. This is a Magic the Gathering podcast. I'm Mike.
I'm Joel.
And I'm Troy.
Cheers, everybody. So this is my last day. I just took my last antibiotic about an hour ago. So I'm still on tea, but guys, get ready for a sloppy show next week.
55 is going to be a hell of a show.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. How's everyone doing this week? It's been rainy and shitty. Snowy, terrible.
Sounds
There's like a glaze of ice on everything outside right now. It's terrible.
Yeah, the trees are hanging heavy, man. They're like touching the ground over by me.
Yeah,
it's like old man shuffle to my garage, my basement today.
Dude,
because that ice, and I put down some salt, and it just got annihilated. It didn't do a thing.
Yeah. See, I took the kids rollerblading yesterday for the first time. We all went rollerblading, and wow, I was not ready for it. But it got me ready to balance on the ice today. So that it was like a pregame for ice walking. So. All right, so Magic the Gathering released AetherDrift on Friday. It is in the arena. It is out to play. We'll start with you, Joel. Did you get to touch any of these cards, to play them, open them? What was your experience?
I opened the box and got pretty much nothing. I got a Radiant Lotus. Forgot about that.
Nice.
Verge. But I was going to say that as I was opening them, I was so not excited about any of them. I just really don't care for vehicles. It does nothing for me. There's so many of them. None of the cards really stood out to me as like a lot of times when I see a set, I'll see many cards and I'm like, oh, I want to slot this into this deck, or like, oh, that'd be fun to build around. I just didn't feel like AetherDrift had any of that for me. So I'm already looking forward to Tarkir spoilers.
Awesome. How about you, Troy?
I mean, really just on Arena, I had the opportunity to, purchase some packs. I actually opted for like a couple Bloomborough packs instead. I would have, in real life or IRL. But you know what? I have a card here that I do want to call out. Don't know, if you guys have seen this yet. It's an uncommon, 1 in a black Momentum Breaker. Have you seen this card, Mike?
I'm sure I have. I'm pulling it up now. Yes, I've seen it in standard and limited. This is the thing. So it is 1 in a black enchantment. Start your engines. When this enchantment enters, each opponent sacrifices a creature or vehicle of their choice. Each opponent who can't discards a card. It also says pay 2 mana, sacrifice this enchantment. You gain life equal to your speed. Are you running this card?
Well, yeah. I mean, for the Esper bounce stuff, which I think obviously this is good for Esper bounce, but I'm interested to see if this, I think this is kind of could just be generically good as well, especially if there's, start your engines stuff going around.
For sure. And the sacrifice is great.
Right.
I've come across a few Valgavoths in standard, and
really?
This is a great way to take care of a Valgavoth. So nice. So you're playing the bounce deck right now, right?
Yeah. I had been messing around with that. Yeah, well, Mike recommended that I do it like the week before.
It is. It's a phenomenal deck. I mean, no one can complain about that. It is a great deck.
Like I had said when we were texting, it's just oppressive, really.
Yep.
Yeah. So I guess the other AetherDrift card that I have been plugging in there is Oil Deep Gear Hulk.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen this one?
Yeah, that's the mirror one, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Double blue, double black. So 2 blue, 2 black, artifact creature construct, lifelink, ward 1. When this creature enters, look at target player's hand. You may choose a card from it. If you do, that player discards that card, then draws a card. So, it's interesting. I haven't even really like considered that they draw a card when they discard that one much, but they still seem to be, very successful. What do you guys think?
It's been played against me. I've had someone drop 2 of them against me, and when the second one hit, I didn't have a hand, and the opponent just did themselves, and they discarded a land from their hand and drew a new card.
Right.
It's huge.
Right. Nice.
This reminds me of Vendilion Click, so I liked it just for that alone.
Yeah. I did open a box of AetherDrift. I hit the jackpot on a Super Bowl pool. So I went out and I bought myself a box, and I pulled a borderless version of this, and the borderless version is absolutely gorgeous. It is the most intimidating. Let's see if I could pull this up here. I wonder if there it is.
Yeah,
I mean, it is just so intense looking. But yeah, great card. All the Gear Hulks are obviously finding more homes than we thought they would, and this is definitely a staple. But so how else with the bounce deck? Let me ask, because let me first preface by saying I have now made a vow to myself as a casual Magic player and arena player. When I come across the bounce deck, I just concede on the first turn. When I see the Hopeless Nightmare come out, I accept it. I know that there's a good chance they're going to win. I give them what they want, and then I get what I want by not having to sit through this non-game of Magic. It's not that I'm really salty about it. I'm not trying to be spiteful about it, but I know where this is going because I'm not built to play against it with my new decks that I'm building. So I'm conceding to it. And when I mentioned it to you guys, there was kind of that moment of like, oh, wow, that's a little extreme. Is it me being a little salty to this, or is it a fair thing for people to just not want to play against a deck that they know isn't going to go well? Joel, we'll start with you. What do you think?
I was gonna say, I can understand the sentiment about that. Me personally, that would make me want to just switch to something that could beat it, because I love trying to chop down the top strategy with some like jank side shit, especially like if it's a control kind of build. But I could also see, I don't blame you for not wanting to engage in cancerous gameplay of just bouncing shit with for low mana values, destroying your hands, like, you know what I mean, with minimal investment. It seems it seems like overtuned. But
Troy, how about you? As a person who's playing it currently, if you were to have your opponent concede immediately on your turn 1 drops, is that a feel good or a feel bad for you?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's a feel good for me, but it's everybody's, prerogative if they want to concede early, right? And you do, like, on the ladder, get some people, conceding pretty early, I would say, as well. But kind of as Joel was saying too, like, or are you playing mostly best of 1 or best of 3, Mike, when you're playing
right now? I'm playing because I'm testing all of the AetherDrift cards. I am doing best of 1 just to get myself against as many different kinds of decks and quick hands, and so it's best of 1 right now.
Yeah, so also I think if you're playing best of 3, depending on what kind of matchup you're doing or what kind of deck you're playing against all this stuff, you might be able to have a sideboard that'll help you compete with it, with things like temporary lockdown and like what is it, pest control or something too, I think is a so like, because obviously these are all, they're playing a lot of small creatures and stuff, so if you're able to play some of these like early essentially board wipes, right, maybe you can take care of the problem early on. I don't know.
I found out that as long as I have a cut down in hand, and when they go to shelter by ghosts, their flyer or their scavenger, if I can destroy that creature before the shelter hits, I have a much better chance of winning the game. So there are ways to get around it. I mean, I run a lot of Brotherhood's End, so even if they're making me discard, I'll just wait until I can hit a Brotherhood's End, and now at least there's no way for them to hit me besides having to rebuild and rebounce. But at the end of the day, it's just I kind of know where it's going, and it feels played out for me. So for me personally, it's just I get it. You know, listen, I'm gonna help you go up the ladder. All of you bounce decks get to the top of the ladder and just jerk each other off. That's the goal. Have fun with each other, but I'm going to stay in the gold and platinum area where people are still trying to, you know, fuck around with bunnies and everything. So yeah, so that's been my experience with the bounce, but I'm glad to hear that you're playing it and that you're finding the intricacies of it and everything, because it is, if I was to have built that deck first and it was like my founding, I would be so happy with that deck because it is phenomenal and it's using uncommons and everything. It's as cool as it gets, just a little played out in my head. Also, let me say, I've been playing so much Arena. I play hours a day right now. I said I got laid off last week. For the week, I start work again on Monday, but for the week, I played so much Magic that I think it was just a little too repetitious for me, where you listen to the same song too many times and you skip it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But
I was
anything. Oh, go ahead, Joel.
No, you first.
I was just gonna ask if there was anything that you guys, have been playing in Standard that you wanted to call out, like anything new any new builds that you've been doing.
Well, it's funny that you ask. So actually, yesterday I woke up early and I ended up releasing a whole little mini episode. If anyone is listening to this and you care about Standard, take the half hour. It's very early. I'm very quiet, but I do go through the 3 decks that I'm playing in Arena right now that I've been testing. I'll go over them real quick with an overglance. But if you want an in-depth view of what they are, I have them pulled up on the screen and everything. But so let me just start. The first one I did was with Mendicant Core and Salvation Engine. It is a blue-white deck, and the whole point is to get my engine started, get Mendicant Core online with the max engine, and then every artifact that I cast I copy by 1. Salvation Engine is a 4 and a white vehicle. It's a 6/10. When it enters, all artifacts get +2/+2, and when it attacks, return an artifact or creature, I think non-land permanent, from your graveyard to the battlefield with CMC 3 or less. Oh no, I don't think it's just return something from your graveyard to the battlefield, because I did a Chamil once with it. So it's huge because it pumps your whole board. And if you have Mendicant Core out and you cast a Salvation Engine and you copy it, everything's getting +4/+4, which is wild. So if you want the whole deck tech on it, it is on there. I do want to say Scrolling Crawler is, and I know I'm beating this card to death, but if you do start your engine, you should have a Scrolling Crawler in deck, because if you can't attack to get that damage through, on your upkeep, when you draw your extra card, which is always good, your opponent draws that card and takes a damage, which immediately kicks up your engine. So it's one of the best engine pushers in the deck, and it's also drawing you an extra card and dealing damage to them. So Scrolling Crawler is still killing it. Favorite card ever. I'm gonna get that tattooed, man. I'm gonna have a little crawler scrolling all over. So yeah, not that powerful of a deck, but once it goes off, it's kind of a snowball effect. Check that out. The next one I built was for you guys. I did it for y'all. We were talking about Debris Beetle, and Troy, you said, you're like, this should be an insect. Well, when I was opening my pack, I found a Lifecraft engine or whatever. There's a 3 mana vehicle that when it enters, you name a creature type. So I name insects. Any vehicle or creature of that type gets +1/+1 and is that creature type. So when you crew a vehicle, it becomes an insect, which allows me to play Debris Beetle and then crew it, and it is an insect. So that was the whole premise of the deck.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's great because I was able to put the Thunderous Velocipede in this deck, which is another card I've been talking about, and it allows all of these little insects to come in and get a 1/1 counter from Thunderous Velocipede, as well as a +1/+1 from the Lifecraft engine and I'm gonna call it Lifecraft Engine. Watch my video; it'll say it better. And you suddenly have these large amounts of things. There's tons of surveil and mill and cycle, and then recursion from graveyard to battlefield, and
nice. That sounds fun.
Dude, it is so much fun. It is my favorite deck. It's very heavy in rares and mythics, so it's hard to build.
Yeah,
but I mean, and I turn 2. I did a Say Its Name on turn 2, which put 2 more Say Its Names into the graveyard, and then I got my 9/9 out on turn 2. So that was awesome. Yeah, I was playing against a mill deck, and they jaced me, and they put like over half my library into the graveyard, and then I played Adchick, which made 14 insects when it entered.
What?
It's so much fun. And I mean, you have great removal. You have the black removal. You also have Assassin's Trophy. So fuck around. It's awesome.
Nice. Yeah.
And then real quick for the last one, I made a Gruul deck around specifically Thundering Velocipede. I call this one Thunderous Terror because it relies on Terror of the Peaks. It's you have all the ramp, you have Ruby, you have Llanowar Elves, you have Piggy Bank, you have all these creatures to get to 5 mana as fast as fucking possible. And what it is on when you have 4 mana, you plot out Railway Brawler that way, and the Railway Brawler is the 5/5. Whenever a creature enters, put 1/1 counters equal to its power. Okay, so you plot Railway Brawler on turn 5. You drop Railway Brawler. You drop a Terror of the Peaks. It's now a 9/10 or some shit, or 10/9 or something like that. Or if you need to, you drop Terror of the Peaks first, then you drop Railway Brawler, and you can ping anything for 5 damage because Terror of the Peaks says when a creature enters, it deals damage equal to the power. So that's like your turn 5 is you either have a Railway Brawler and a Terror of the Peaks come out, or a Terror of the Peaks and Railway Brawler, whichever way you need it. Also, there's All Will Be One, which is the 5 mana enchantment. Whenever a 1/1 counter is put on something, it deals damage equal to a target equal to the 1/1s. So when you drop that and you put anything out, if Thunderous Velocipede's out, it's going to deal at least 1 damage to anything. If it's bigger, it's going to deal 5 damage. If Railway Brawler's out, it's going to deal the 1/1 counters equal to what Velocipede enters, and then it doubles the power with 1/1 counters, which will then damage that much to an opponent. If Terror of the Peaks is out, it's just doing the power as well. Not to mention the 8 cards that is most important is Shivan Devastator and Goldvein Hydra, because they're X spells and they only get 1/1 counters on it. So if you have a Railway Brawler out and you play that, let's say Goldvein Hydra, it's going to double the amount of counters on it. And if you have either Terror of the Peaks or All Will Be One out, it's going to deal that much damage to anything you fucking want.
Damn.
It has haste, flying, haste, vigilance, trample. So you swing out, and let's say they kill it, and it's a 10/10, you get 10 treasures. So next turn, you drop the Shivan Devastator, and it's a 15/15, which then doubles to 30/30. It has flying and haste. It deals the 30 damage. You don't have to swing, and it's dealing the fucking damage. It's the most powerful deck I've built. I am so impressed with this deck. And thinking that everything's at 5 or 6 mana is going to be a lot, but everything is scalable with the X spells. If you are going to watch my video, it's the last one I talk about. This is the best deck you can build. It's pretty cheap cards to build in paper. Fucking Thunderous Terror is where it's at, and expect more of me talking about that. So, boom.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah, this is what unemployment does for me.
What do you do in turn 1, turn 2?
Turn 1 Llanowar Elves, turn 2 Ruby, or Piggy Bank, because Piggy Bank is a 3/2. They want to destroy it, and then you get your treasure token to ramp you up. Turn 2, a lot of times I just drop a Thunderous Velocipede because I had a Llanowar Elves out. And now that the Thunderous Velocipede's out, if I have to get a 4/3 Piggy Bank out and start swinging with that, I will,
Sometimes you will, goddamn.
And then you run 3 Brotherhood's Ends, because if they're doing bunnies or fairies or whatever the fuck they're doing, just board wipe early. Who cares? I'll lose my Llanowar Elves because by this point I have a treasure token and I'm going to be dropping X spells, and, I've plot my Railway Brawler. Also, Quilled Great Worm is the one where whenever something deals damage, put 1/1 counters on it equal to the damage it dealt. Out of control. It's just out of control. So, Joel, honestly, I think that'd be a deck that you would like, even though it's not specifically your colors. There's so much you can do with it, and having scalable X spells to fuck around is it's a lot of fun.
It sounds like fun.
Yeah, definitely a good time.
And
Anyway,
how does it beat Hopeless Nightmare?
you just concede. You concede and go to the next game. I listen. I do recommend watching my half-hour video on all of this stuff if you care about Standard at all. It's not that exciting, but it's packed with content. So
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, we have a lot more to talk about than Standard. Is there anything you guys want to close on Standard? Anything, any card that you're interested in? Anything you want to say before we move on?
Just real quick, that I looked at, the most recent Standard event looks like it was the Japan Standard Cup, and first place was Azorius Oculus. Oh, that was kind of cool. I was wondering if you guys played against that ever.
I did a few times. That's where they have the Oculus and the Jins, and it's a lot of self mill, and then Jins and Oculuses are coming out. Yeah, it whooped my ass. It got me.
I played against this at the shop actually, and yeah, the Oculus is crazy. The Manifest Dread constantly, but Authority of the Consoles was decent against it because they kept getting all those things, all those Manifest Dreads, regardless of whether they like intended to drop a creature or not. So then I was gaining a lot of life against it. But
that's a nice little tech for it. Yeah. If you're gonna get cheap little creatures, let me gain a bunch of life every time you do. Yeah.
But,
the other deck that I'm sorry, go on.
No, nothing.
The other deck I saw that I really liked is Zur Overlords. This took third place, and it's basically the Abzan deck that I was running, except with blue, to run 3 copies of Zur. And this seems like a lot of fun. I might want to try this. Oh, and 2 copies of Atraxa.
Yeah. I've played against that. It is wild to, you turn 2, drop the black Overlord, and then on next turn suddenly it's swinging at you with lifelink and shit. It's like, wait, we gotta wait all the time counters. No, no, not at all. Yeah,
so, yeah,
great deck.
That's it.
All right. Well, yeah, there will be more Standard coming up. I promise. Oh, my mother's calling me. I'm gonna pause that. Okay, so let's talk about the real meat of this. Here is we were given the commander brackets. I should get this off screen. The beta commander brackets. So actually, let me pull up the list here. They broke it down to 5 brackets, which is silly because in my head, just off the bat, it's what power level are you? Divide it by 2, and that's what the bracket is. But Joel, why don't you take this over? Let's read out the brackets and kind of what they do.
Well, yeah. So this is they put out the brackets. Rachel Weeks from the Command Zone put this out, which I liked. I preferred this version. The same brackets, except just with more of the articles commentary on like the intent of the bracket. So I feel like that it should have been posted like this from the get-go. The side note, because of course, as soon as it was posted, it was just tons of posts about how to break it, whatever, and like people just missing some of the nuance. And overall, before we even get into like the nitty-gritty, it's like this isn't like the new rules. This is literally just a tool that they're saying, hey, if you want to use this to have a conversation, cool, but also like you could still just say, oh, I want to play that. Like, no one has to use this.
Right.
So some people are acting like it's gospel, and it's really not. It's just a suggestion. However, with the implication of Wizards controlling things, I could see them doing like, hey, like this is going to be a bracket 5 tournament. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe we'll see CDH officially supported somehow. Yeah. Anyway, all right. So level 1 bracket is the exhibition. It's considered to be like powered below a precon, prioritize theme over function, goal outside of winning, showcasing under supported mechanic to a favorite artist. So none of us really play anything like this.
No.
No one has a chair tribal deck or, people pointing right deck. So cool. 2, we have the core, which is considered to be a precon level, which I feel like bit of a caveat here is that precons have varied wildly in power. Past precons are definitely not at the level of like current precons. So I feel like 2 is kind of a bigger jump from 1 than intended, just because precons are like pretty good nowadays.
Yeah, I agree with that. When I read this, the core or number 2 is supposed to be relaxing with a satisfying ending. Um, dude, the Fallout decks alone are kind of pumped. So I'm curious if they're going forwards, their precons, they're going to try to fit this mold and kind of power it back, or if this is just going to be this never touched bracket.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. We'll see. Wins are often telegraphed or incremental. I feel like that's pretty indicative of a precon. If we play a 4-player precon game, like they take 2 hours and somebody casts something big and splashing, it makes sense that they win. You know what I mean? No one's winning out of nowhere. So in that regard, it makes sense to me.
Right.
Looking at the bottom here, no game changers, which we'll talk about later. No mass land denial, no chaining extra turns. So you could have an extra turn spell or 2 in there. No 2-card combos and few tutors. So that's precon level is a 2. That's the new well, we'll talk about what we think the new 7 is. 3 is upgraded, so upgraded precons, thoughtfully designed, powered by synergy. A player may expect the game to end out of nowhere with powerful spells and some combos. So notably, 2-card combos are allowed here. You can have some of the game changers, but still no land denial and still no extra turns.
Yeah, so this is where I think most of my decks fit, because I personally I do have restrictions when I'm building. There are things that I limit myself from. No one needs to tell me. No one, it's not part of our core group. I know our group can get as powerful as we want, but I see myself resting deeply in a bracket 3.
Yeah, and I feel like bracket 3 is probably where most people probably end up. Then we get to 4. This is where we start getting to like the power. Turbocharge most powerful cards in the format. Seek to optimize in any and all strategies with synergy and speed. No restrictions except for the ban list. And then 5 is CDH. So I've seen a lot of commentary online about like both joking and serious about like what is the difference between 4 and 5. And I think the difference is that like, and a 4 you could just be putting up like for instance the best Animar deck you can make, or like Gave. What's the Abzan commanders that Gave? I don't know how to pronounce that.
Gave, yeah.
Whatever the fuck that guy is. So like powerful commander, or Joda the Unifier, like in like legendaries, like that's a 4 where you put a whole bunch of mana rocks in there and ancient tombs and shit, like that thing could pop off, but that couldn't compete at like a CDH table when they're running like tabernacles and they're stifling your fetch land trigger to prevent you from drawing a card and shit like that. So
the 4 and 5 on glance looks like it says the same exact thing, like, hey, build it as powerful you want, no restrictions other than ban list. But if you take the time and you put a 4 against a 5, you'll notice a world of difference. Absolutely. I know that, Joel, you probably can lean into the 4 a lot more. You have the tightest of our synergies, but I think none of your decks would be able to compare to a CEDH deck, except if you built it specifically for that.
Yeah, no, exactly, 100%. So it's actually funny that you say that. So I don't have a ton of my decks in Archidect, but I did find it interesting that like my Eldrazi deck is considered a 3 based on these guidelines.
Yeah, I would say so, absolutely.
Which I thought was interesting, because I would like if you were to have like before reading this, if I had to like put it on there knowing 5 was CDH, I would assume it was a 4. But there's only 3. There's 3 game changers in it. I'm not taking extra turns, and I'm not denying any mana.
Yeah. I would love to see Archidect actually adopt this. And when you put in your deck, it's already, oh shit,
it's in there now. You can pull it up and check out your brackets right now.
Top notch. I will do that in the background while we're continuing with this.
That's how I know cool. It's a 3.
Damn, I thought you took the time and did the math, ran the numbers.
So my Aragorn deck is also coincidentally a 3, which I would agree with more so because I started with the precon there and I just kind of like upgraded to precon. So I've been finding that at least a lot of the decks I've built lately are 3s. And I don't know if I have really anything I would consider to be a 4 besides at this point my Simic big mana deck, which isn't like I would say optimized beyond the fact that Simic is kind of bullshit and it just tries to chain extra turns to like grind out value.
Yeah, I say my Henzi deck would be a 4 because that's as optimized as I can make it. That's very powerful and explosive. So
you say that, but are you running more than 3 game changers?
Well, I'll tell you what, that'll be the first one I pull up on here, and we will see what's going on. Now, I have edited a little bit since I've done this.
This is interesting though that you got. So you guys are using Architect in particular to
yes.
I haven't put all my decks in yet, but I have
list your decks. Okay.
Yeah, it's the best way to list your decks because one, it's visually, it's a great way to see what you have. Secondary, they break it up into categories, so you can see what is card draw, what is removal, what is, it breaks it up in so many ways, and it also lets you know the value of your decks, which is always shocking. But get this, so Henzi's toolbox that I have built here is actually estimated at a bracket 2.
Yeah.
Which is out of control because I will slap with this deck. So
well, see, that's the thing though. So think about it. Like, are you running any of the game changers in it? I'm assuming no.
I don't.
You're not denying lands. You're not chaining extra turns, and you're not running 2-card combos. You're just swinging with big beefers.
Wow, look at how it immediately tells me all this stuff. So apparently my my Massacre Girl is a 3. But my Kate is a 2. Look at that. Mardu is 3. How's my Kark? Is a 2. Yeah, so I'm running mainly 2 and 3s. I personally don't run game changers, and I know we'll get to that. How about you, Troy? Do you feel that you're in the 3, or do you think that you tend to lean more towards 2?
No, I think well, I don't know. So maybe this is a good time to get into the game changers list because I don't know. I was just thinking about this. Like, I don't have a lot of combo stuff, but then if you consider like in the food deck that I have the Rosy Cotton and Scurry Oak thing where it makes a million squirrels or whatever. So that's a combo in a way, but it's not where like you don't win right there because they don't have haste, like you have to wait, so that's not really like a 2-card combo. I don't know. What would you say? Is that a 2-card combo that you consider that gets you out of the 2 category or not? Not really, right?
No, I don't think it would. I think it would keep you in the 2. I think timing is the thing. Like if you're doing the 2-card combo on turn 4, then that's a 2-card combo. But if it takes you to turn 8 and you needed to get like all these, I don't think that's really a thing. I don't think it counts.
I was actually about to say that based on the letter of the law, your decks, as far as an algorithm can tell, might be saying 2. But I think this is really important where like the intent comes in, which is why, Mike, I think your Henzi deck is definitely at 3 and not a 2. Because if we look at like your deck is not like suboptimal cards, like it's thoughtfully designed, you know what I mean? And like you're intending to win possibly out of nowhere with like a series of creatures. And then Troy, it's for your example, I feel like wins are often telegraphed makes that combo not technically a 2-card combo because 2-card combo would be win the game out of nowhere where I just, play these 2 cards and I win.
Right.
Unless you can interact with me. That at least gives a chance for the entire table to interact, which I feel like by the intent, it's not quite the same.
Yeah. Yeah, I just went through all my decks. The majority of my decks built on here are 2s. That is my my bracket that I'm sitting at, which I mean I know I have limits when I'm building, but I feel like my decks are pretty performative. And the fact that I'm being considered a 2 kind of Makes me
it's
wonder,
3.
can I upgrade them? Should I upgrade these decks then, you know?
But I feel like the intent says like algorithm says 2 because it only, I mean, realistically, all it could really do is see if you have any cards that ping one of like the no list, and that'll bump you up. Like I'm sure if I added one more game changer to my Eldrazi deck, it'd be considered a 4 based solely on the fact that now there's a 4th, you know what I mean? Now there's a 4th game changer card, and therefore that makes it a 4. Just as like your intent of Henzi is not to have a slow dirtling game, you know what I mean? Like, so I think you in real life on the battlefield are, or at least a 3.
Yeah,
because you're not
which
building dirtily bullshit.
Right, which scares me because then people can build decks and specifically make sure that they're labeled a 2, but have full intentions of stomping against other precons. So
which is
we do need to watch this.
Yeah, which is what they say in the article, is that like you can't prevent against bad actors, and like again, this isn't a rule set. It's just literally a way to say like, hey stranger, I don't know if we have the same definition of what a 7 is, but are you trying to be a 3, or do you have a bunch of like bullshit that makes you a 4? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know.
What deck is this? This is the game changers.
These are
list?
the game changers.
Okay.
Yeah, this is all the game changers broken up by card types, which is, I mean, it's a decent list. So I guess we'll start with the creatures first. So game changers are what they're saying is when it hits, the game is actually altered. Some of these I very much agree with, some of these not so much. So I guess what we'll do is, in order to save some time, I'll read all of the creatures and just kind of a quick what they do, and then we'll break down and pick some that we actually want to talk about here. So we have 11 creatures. Dranith Magistrate, which is a creature that you can't cast cards that aren't from your hands, which means no commanders can come out, no graveyard stuff can get cast, none of that baloney. Exile things can't be cast from exile. We have Kinnan, which is a little guy who, whenever a mana rock taps, it produces extra mana. So this is changing the game in terms of now you are producing double the resources, but you do need to build around it. Thassa's Oracle is a win con. I really don't know this, but when you have no cards in hands, you win. Yeah. A position agent, whenever you go to tutor, your opponent gets to tutor for you. So now it stops your ability to look for cards that you need and allows them to take it. Yuriko is specifically, I would assume they're saying this as a commander. And then when it can come out without commander tax, because you ninjutsu it out from the commander. And then as long as you do top deck manipulation, you are now able to play things without paying mana cost. Grand Arbiter is a heavy stacks, which allows you to cast things for cheaper, but your opponents have to pay more, which alters the balance of the game. Urza, I honestly don't know what Urza does. I think he's just a way to produce a lot of mana with artifacts, right? Tap an untapped artifact you control to add mana. So yeah, he'll one side the game for you specifically. Winota is a creature that will allow you to start top decking creatures for free. So you put out a bunch of little token goblins, swing out, and suddenly half your deck is on the battlefield, which changes the game because you didn't pay for any of that. Tegrid says whenever an opponent sacrifices or discards a non-land permanent, you get it. It comes to your side. So this I very much agree with. This is a card that I refuse to run personally, because if you're removing people's hands and then taking what they discarded for free, that is definitely a game changer. Vorinclex is written here in all Phyrexian, but it says whenever a land taps, it does not untap on the next untap step, which is a heavy shut down your opponent. And then Jin-Kataxis, at the beginning of your end step, you draw 7 cards. Each opponent has no fucking hand, which clearly having no hands is no fun. So these are what they say are the creature game changers. Troy, let's start with you. What do you feel about these? Are these any cards in here you think are fine? Do you not like these? How do you feel about this?
I mean, I haven't really played with these much. No, I mean, you know, are these things that you guys run? You know, really?
I've never cast a single one of these.
Joel?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've cast a Jin-Kataxis and a Vorinclex, and I have
but that's not okay. But like, those are a couple of them, and I've definitely played against the Jin-Kataxis and stuff before. But I think, those are kind of, sit down at the table and you got to say that you're playing a deck that has these types of things in them, right? But it's not necessarily like, unplayable, but everybody's got to be on board for it, right?
Yeah.
No, 100%. I agree with this list mostly. I mean, I know that quite a few of them, Kinnan, Yuriko, Urza, Winota, are all like there because essentially it's like, hey, I'm playing a CDH deck. So because those are all some of the top CDH commanders. Thassa is a common win con with consultation, which I think is also on the list. Amount of consultation. So yeah, all of it makes sense that's there. I mean, a lot of people kind of poo-pooed on Jin Gitaxias being on there, but that's again where I think you kind of go to the intent, because most of the people when they're playing Jin Gitaxias are going to throw him in the graveyard and reanimate him on turn 1 or 2, and then all of a sudden like no one can have a hand, and that player does. So like that is not the intent of what a 3 should be. You know what I mean? So like, despite the fact that it's a 10 mana spell, I understand why these cards are here, because all of them are saying like, hey, what I'm trying to do is like pretty unfun in general. Well, unfun for a lot of people. I could see having a good time trying to do that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it comes down to the self bounce where it's like, no, it's fun trying to make this do it in its dirtiest form. Let me try to see if I can change the game changing cards. I played a Tegrid one time. I had pulled one, I put it in a deck, I cast it one time, I saw what it did, and I took it out that next game. Because it's I think more than a game changer, this should be fucking scale unbalances, because suddenly the game is no longer a balanced scale. It is very much in the position for whoever casts one of these, like Grand Arbiter. We've played against it, and actually we had Joel, me, you, Joey, and Mark did some game, and we opened up packs, and there was an opposition agent in the prize packs, and I had won, and I was allowed to pick any card, and I specifically, even though it was the more expensive card, did not pick it because I wouldn't play this. I don't see this as a fun card. So it's funny that my line of, hey, I draw a line at some cards is pretty much all right here. So I'm happy with this list. I think they did a good job on it.
Any creatures you guys think should be on here that are not?
Kambal after what happened that one day.
It should be 2 Kambals. X2.
Yeah.
Right. Times 2. No, I don't think there's anything else really that I can think of at the top of my head, at least. I mean, I always have not an issue with it, but I always know that any of the Titans coming out is always a problem. But they've kind of fixed the Titans to where you have to cast it in order for it to happen. So if it just comes from the graveyard, a lot of the bullshit of a Titan isn't going to happen, and then you could still just.
Times they can't even.
Yeah. They won't even sit in a graveyard.
Can't even go in the graveyard.
Yeah, so it's pretty fair. I think this is a pretty good list. I'm sure they'll find things to add to it, but
I don't know that we can hit this all, but I did want to touch on. Do you feel like Bolus's Citadel needs to be on this list? It doesn't really do anything when it comes to. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
Like, do you feel like it needs to be? It's like I feel like
surprised.
Maybe that. Yeah, I feel like maybe that doesn't need to be, because like I feel if you've ever tried to use this to abuse it, like it's really easy to just drain yourself down to a point that you aren't going to come back from anyway, unless you're I don't know, playing like a life gain strategy or something like that.
There's the Aetherflux Reservoir. So every time you cast a spell, you additionally gain life equal to the number of spells you cast. So like if you pair that up, it can get out of control. Oh, I think ultimately, because even we saw it in there, is if you are getting a bunch of free mana, no matter how you're doing it, if you're able to put things out without having to pay mana, they're counting that as game changers. So anytime that you're fucking around with resources, it's a game change. Okay, so for the spells here on their list is mainly tutors. We have Enlightened
So
Tutor,
fast.
Imperial Seal, Mystical Tutor, Vampiric Tutor. These are all 1-drop, 2-drop tutors that go and get whatever you need. I agree that these obviously should not be banned, but they should be considered a game changer, because if you are consistently tutoring something, it means you're trying to do something specific, which takes away that just casual idea. So we have all the tutors on here. We have Cyclonic Rift. We have Fierce Guardianship, which is a free counter. Force of Will, which is a free counter. Ad Nauseam, which again is like free card draw. You're paying life, but you are getting as many cards as you want. Jeskai Will is a bunch of mana and cards. And Expropriate is turn. So this right here, the spells are talking about getting value, resources, and for very low costs. I very much agree with this list in terms of game changers. Cyclonic Rift, I would like to see, in all blue. Yeah, every blue deck should have a Cyclonic Rift, I guess, is like,
I only
even though it's a
say
game
that
changer.
because if you're trying to build a blue deck and you're going for a board wipe, and listen, not every color can have everything, but blue, I mean, green's arguably worse, but green's definitely worse. I know what I'm talking about. Besides, Cyclonic Rift does not have great board wipes, and it shouldn't, but I don't feel like we should punish the one good blue board wipe for or print a fixed version, print a sorcery speed version that bounces your shit too, but at least hits everything, because
Flood of Tears.
Yeah. Oh, is that all non-land permanents?
I believe so.
Oh, word. See, there you go. Flood of Tears. But I don't know. I feel like Cyclonic Rift gets a bad rap. It's one of the only good blue fucking board wipes. Print it more so it's cheaper.
You were trying to say about green that I guess I've heard people say like it has everything, right? Like it breaks the color pie or whatever a lot, because you have cards that have the ability to do sort of anything.
Yeah, so it shouldn't have board wipes. Fuck green. Fuck green.
Yeah, green's got enough ways to clear a board. And well, we'll see if it's on here. But okay, so for the spells, tutors, free counter spells, maximum card draw, extra turns. I mean, this is all fair stuff, and it's not a big list, so I'm very happy with that also. Going to artifacts, one is not like the other. So Troy, right here, one is a 6 mana Bolus of Citadel, which, you can look at the top card of your library anytime. You may play a card from your library by paying life instead of mana. You could tap it, sacrifice 10 non-land permanents. Each opponent loses 10 life. I think this is definitely a bit of a clunky card to be on this list compared to the other ones. Are the One Ring, which is a 4 mana, can't get hit for a turn. It's indestructible and it's card draw like a motherfucker. The life damage we know doesn't matter when you are snowballing to a win. We've got Trinisphere, which is, as long as it's untapped, each spell that would cost less than 3 mana costs 3 mana to cast. I don't think this one should be on here. I mean, if anything, this is a fair card, stopping all of the other bullshit from happening. Like, this is almost like a policing card. So I'm okay with this one. This is probably the one that I would say, if we were to take it off the list, that's the one. The next is Grim Monolith, which is a 2 mana, taps for a ton, and you can untap it. So this is a way to get infinite mana. Mana Vault's clearly a 1 mana, tap for 3. Mox Diamond is a 0 mana, can tap Mana Rock. Lion's Eye Diamond is sacrifice it and discard your hand at 3 mana. I'm sure that there's ways that this gets broken. And Chromox is a 0 mana tap. So I mean, aren't these kind of like a Soul Ring though? Should Soul Ring be on this list, I guess, is the question.
They said in the stream that Soul Ring would have been here if it wasn't Soul Ring.
Interesting. Okay, cool. They addressed it. Yeah.
Troy,
do you run any of these cards?
No, but I run Soul Ring. I sometimes have Bolus of Citadel, but again, I don't necessarily feel like that one needs to be on this list, because I don't know, just the cost for having to pay the life is like a lot. You can drain yourself really easily. But Soul Ring, I mean, the mana rocks on here are pretty much all free, or what you got Mana Vault, which is 1. So their CMCs are lower than Soul Ring, really, right?
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I see these ones as being more broken.
Yeah.
You know?
Anything where at the end of your first turn you can produce 3, 4, 5 mana, I think is a game-changing card. So this is fair.
Yeah.
Like I said, my only argument would be Trinisphere. I think it's not helping the player who cast it. It's not like it's tapping for mana or doing anything. It's just making sure that no one's dropping 0s, 1s, or 2s. So I think that's okay. I guess it is changing the game. So technically, but I wouldn't call it as powerful as anything else we're reading on this list. So for enchantments, we only have 5 of them. We have Survival of the Fittest. You can pay, it's a 2 mana enchantment. You can pay 1 green, choose and discard a creature card, search your library for a creature card, reveal that to all players and put it into your hand, shuffle your library afterwards. So it's pretty much an enchantment tutor. Reusable enchantment tutor. Underworld Breach, each non-land card in your graveyard has escape, so it allows you to cast things from your graveyard by paying its cost and sacrificing stuff. So I guess if you fill up your graveyard and you got a lot of mana, you can cheat out a bunch of cards. Rhystic Study, everyone knows this. It's the 3 mana. When an opponent plays a spell, you may draw a card unless that opponent pays 1. Smothering Tithe is whenever an opponent draws a card, they may pay 2. If they don't, you make a treasure token. And then Trouble in Pairs. If an opponent would begin an extra turn, that player skips that turn instead. When an opponent attacks you with 2 or more creatures, draws their second spell each turn or casts their second spell, you draw a card. Troy, what's your thoughts on these?
Nothing too much other than Trouble in Pairs. That card is interesting to me, and I don't know. I mean, we haven't seen it that much yet, right? Because this was printed in the Karlov Manor Commander decks, I believe, right? So you know, I don't know. What do you think? That card, I don't know if that's up with, Smothering Tithe and Rhystic Study and stuff in my mind, but we'll see. I guess we'll see how that, funny note on this one too. I think I came across 1 or 2 of these in the dollar bin, and I read it, and I kind of put it aside, and I was like, this seems interesting, but then I ended up stuffing them back in there. And
I know where I'm digging.
Going to the shop, on Monday.
I think they're no,
they probably caught on to it.
Yeah, that was months ago. Yeah,
but that's funny.
Yeah,
it's not a card I would run though. I mean, I again, most of these cards on this list I don't run. We'll go through it real quick. I know we only got about 10 minutes left, but a lot of these cards, I run a Smothering Tithe only because I have it, but I run a Rhystic Study because some frog decks need some card draw. You know what I mean? But I think these are all fair. These are all definitely game changers. I think the most powerful of them is Survival of the Fittest for sure. Joel, what do you feel about these?
I only have 1 Trouble in Pairs, so I've only played it 1 time. I feel like it's kind of up there. One of those like, why is this here? Doesn't feel like it has the prestige yet to be there with the rest of them.
I mean, it is a white Rhystic Study. You can draw possibly 3 cards per turn.
Yeah, but so is Esper Sentinel. Why isn't that there then?
That's a fair point. That's a very fair point. Or Mystic Remora. Because if you turn 1 Mystic Remora, that's always I think that's more of a bump than just getting out a fucking Chrome Mox. So, but also I'm glad to see that this list isn't extensive. So I like that it's bare bones right now. The last of them are the lands. We got Ancient Tomb, which is it's a land that taps for 2 colorless. It deals 2 damage to you. Gaia's Cradle, which taps for green equal to the creatures you control. Glacier's Chasm, cumulative upkeep 2 life. When this comes into play, sacrifice a land you cannot attack. All damage dealt to you is reduced to 0. So it makes sure you don't take any damage. Sarah's Sanctum, you can tap it, add white to your mana pool for each enchantment you control, which is kind of a white Gaia's Cradle. And then Tabernacle, all creatures now require an upkeep of 1 in addition to any other upkeep cost that they have. If the upkeep cost for your creature is not paid, that creature is destroyed. So if you play that with anything that's tapping down or stacking you, there's a good chance you can't keep creatures out. This is a little list. Should anything else be on this?
No. What else would be on here?
Cabal Coffers, maybe? Shrine to Nyx?
Cabal
Shrine to
Coffers
Nyx could be on here.
requires another. But those are like build arounds, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, I mean, but Sarah's Sanctum, you need enchantments for it to do anything. Gaia's Cradle, well, I guess they also tap for a normal mana, right? Does Gaia's? No.
No, it doesn't tap for anything.
No. Yeah, so I mean, I say if Gaia's Cradle and Sarah's Sanctum is on here, Cabal Coffer should be on here.
I guess the difference, though, is Cabal Coffers requires mana to activate, and these don't.
Yeah.
These can come down and do it.
That's true.
Just do the thing.
I still, if they threw it on here, I wouldn't be surprised, I guess. I don't know what but at the end of the day, okay, so looking at this list here, do you guys play any of these? I mean, is this a list of cards that you own and play, or 50%, 100?
I'm going to hit that button down at the bottom, buy from Card Kingdom for $6,700.
This is a cool $6,700. I mean, you take off the Tabernacle, that's literally almost half the cost.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, then it's just only almost 4,000. That's
affordable,
totally
yeah, 3,700. To be honest, I own most of them. Well, owned or have owned most of them. Played a fair amount of them, but never in high concentrations. As my decks, I have so many decks that all of these things are spread out, where most of my decks do not break the 3 game changers per deck things. I just don't have that many to put everywhere. So I do have a lot of them, and I do play a lot of them, but they're spread out.
Yeah. You're looking through 13 of them. I play 13 of them out of the 22, 30, 35, 40. Out of the 40, I play 13. So, and a lot of them are the tutors, the counter spells, and One Ring, Mana Vault. But so yeah, I think this is a fair list.
Wait, not all the way. Yeah, right there. Just trying to count and see what I got.
Oh yeah. If I can just slowly go down. So I think this is a good list. I like that they did the brackets. At the end of the day, I don't give a fuck about this bracket list. I'm still going to build my decks the same way that I build the decks. I'm still going to do the same things that I do. It's funny that I'm over here thinking I'm a 3 or a 4, and then Architect is like, no, you're a 2, dog. You're a stinky little 2. Is this going to alter how you guys build decks moving forwards? Troy, I know you said you're in the works of building a deck. Is this list bracket gonna affect you at all?
No, I mean, I am interested though. Since you guys are using Architect in particular, I think I'm gonna plug my deck lists into there and see what they come back with for me.
Yeah,
dude,
you're gonna fall in love with it. Yeah, absolutely, give it a go.
Yeah, I agree, because actually, side note real quick, is that I did it for one of my decks, and it put I forget what category it was, but let's just pretend it's like ramp or something, where it categorized a whole bunch of cards I had in that, and I thought I had way more of like a token generating, and I had way too much of another category. So it was really cool to see, like, oh, maybe I'm running too much of this type of thing, and I could be moving it more over to this other thing. But I'm sorry, continue.
No, that could be helpful. No, I mean, I think probably my stuff's gonna end up coming back as like 2s and stuff as well. Not running a lot of combos or anything like that. So
yeah, notably my what's that little Simic girl that I'm playing? Zimone. She came in as a 1.
Really?
That's an upgraded precon, and when I popped her in, she was a 1.
1, damn.
Yeah. So I don't know about that.
They're still tightening the algorithm.
Yeah,
no, for sure. Actually,
I guess how good is the like Architect at recognizing like synergy and
well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think it can.
Yeah,
I think probably a lot of it's just based on the percentage of these like certain categories that you're running, as opposed to the human intelligence, the intent behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like here I'm pulling it up right now. I'm pulling up one of my decks. This is my Let's Get Froggy deck. and right off the bat, it says at the top here that it is an upgraded 3. Its
Wow.
estimated deck cost is 582. That's
Nice.
by Card Kingdom, but
Mhm.
it's this beautiful set where it shows you what the Anthem cards are, all my Blink cards, all my Bounce cards, copies, counters, creatures, all the draw that I have. Nadu, I got to take out. I replaced Nadu with a room, evasions, lands, finishers, mills. So like it's better than just seeing like, oh, these are all my enchantments, these are all my artifacts, but you can actually get that count of I got 4 protections, I got a fuck ton of removal. My ramp is always strong. So just a great way to go through and see how it all works and test it out. You can, there's a button to test out the things too. You know, you can play test this stuff and give a completely theoretical deck a try. So definitely Architect. We are huge fans of Architect here at BTTM for sure. But I think that's the end of it, man. We just hit an hour. We'll continue this talk as they release more information. I have a list of cards that I think they need to reprint in Commander. We'll go over that another time. But listen, gentlemen, I hope you guys continue to play some AetherDrift. I know both of you are a little underwhelmed. A lot of the cards are out there. There's a lot of vehicles that do things that you don't even need to crew, and people are fucking around with it. So hopefully we see some moves from it. I'm a believer in the set, and hopefully, especially after rotation. Once rotation happens, I think this set is going to be like people are going to just suddenly be like, "Oh, have you guys heard about this AetherDrift?" It's like, yeah, it's fucking been out for a while, baby. Let's get it. But, you know, we'll wait till rotation.
All the hidden gems, yeah.
Yeah. And
Diamonds in the rough.
Just with my velocipedes and my debris beetles.
Yeah, but you're scrolling crawler as the real, you know.
Will be in forever. Scroll and Crawler will always be in Standard. It's in Foundations. So
there you go.
Thank God. That's how they keep me playing forever.
All right.
Gentlemen, cheers.
It was fun. We'll see you next week.
Bottom of the glass. Take it easy.